26th of October, 2020 to order. Could I have roll call?
Charlie Eager, clerk.
Seth,
Seth Burdick, Prudential Committee.
Silvio,
Sylvia Janelle, Prudential.
Fran Parks, Prudential. And could we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For
for
which
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we're gonna have to wait a few minutes for Ray. I don't know. Charlie, do you know if we have a date certain for the tax classification hearing?
I haven't heard of a date yet.
Okay.
I don't know if Ray got one today or not, but I know Bonstable hasn't got one yet.
And that's what we need to suspend to, correct?
Right, we have to open the hearing and then we'll suspend to a couple weeks out or something like that.
Okay. While we're waiting, why don't I move the minutes up? The minutes from the 28th of September and the 5th of October. Did everybody get a chance to check those?
Yep, I did.
Silvio?
Yep.
Charlie, were the minutes from the 5th all right for you?
Yeah. The only thing I noticed is at the end of the meeting, I did say an additional.
What
But
did,
I forget what the wording was. It read-
for? Additional for what?
Well, I mean, for the votes or something,
Oh,
as I remember.
yeah. Well, it's the recording's not very clear. I'll go back and listen to it again and see if I can ferret that out, but it's rather difficult to hear that particular recording. I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes from 9:28 and the minutes from 10:05 amended as necessary with Charlie's suggestion from the end of the meeting on 10:05. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Parks, aye.
Sylvia
Burdick,
Janelle, aye.
Thank you. Ray.
Fran, if I may, I was gonna jump in at the end and talk about something under matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair, but while we're waiting, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So last week, I sent Charlie Eager, the clerk, my formal resignation from the Prudential Committee because unfortunately, I have a PNS on my house and I will be moving out of the district. So I wanted to give everybody plenty of notice in case you needed to do an election or if you had somebody waiting in the wings that you could put in the meantime, which I think the bylaws allow, but whatever the process is, at least a month. So for all intents and purposes, technically, if we don't have a meeting or we just have a monthly meeting, this will unfortunately be my last meeting.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for letting us know. We're going to miss you.
Yeah, we'll miss you too. I really enjoyed being part of this group and living in Katuitt. I mean, it's a beautiful place full of really engaged people, and I'm pretty sure, you know, it'll stay in good hands with people like you who've been doing this for a long time. I mean, the residents don't know how lucky they are to have somebody as engaged as you are. So
Thank you. So now you're gonna cut back on your driving a lot, right?
yeah, well, the thing is like I said, I have purchase and sales in my house, and but you still need to find a place in Eastham. So I think I'll be renting for a while and until I can find a place, because the real estate market is pretty hot right now. Things
Right.
just go in 2 seconds. So it's been hard. Easy to sell, hard to buy.
Well, I suppose that all things considered, that's probably better than the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, but I want to thank everybody, Charlie, Lisa, the other Lisa who's not in our committee anymore, and Seth, for the short time that we worked together, and obviously you, Fran. Everybody's been really helpful and really great to work with. And when Ray comes in, I'll also mention something to him. But no, this is a good district, small place, but really run really well by people who care a lot about the place. So I feel proud to have been a part of it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
gonna miss you. So,
Absolutely.
well, I think maybe we'll start with the auditor's report, Mr. Lynch. Mr. Lynch, can you unmute? Great. No. Hi.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Sorry about that.
Why don't we go ahead and start with your report?
Okay, thank you. So I'm Rob Lynch, for those that I haven't met before, with Lynch Marini and Associates, and we conducted the audit of the district for fiscal year 2019. And as I understand it, the audit report's been issued, and I believe at a previous meeting, Ray has gone over that. But the objectives of the audit are for the auditor to express an opinion on the district's financial statements, if they're presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The audit was also conducted in accordance with government auditing standards, which require us to consider internal controls and compliance with laws and regulations over the financial reporting process. Management's responsibility include designing, implementing, and maintaining internal controls over financial reporting, and establishing policies and procedures, as well as ensuring financial information is reliable and properly reported, and the financial statements are presented in accordance with GAAP. As part of the audit process, we do provide assistance in taking the district's trial balance and converting that to the financial reporting model required by GASB, but that's still the responsibility of financial rests with management. Our opinion on the financial statements was an unqualified opinion, meaning people, the readers can rely on that financial information. We did issue, or as required under the Yellow Book, the government auditing standards, our report did identify material weaknesses with the financial reporting. And as I said, I believe that's been presented to the committee, and so I can answer any questions if anybody has any.
No, I don't have any questions, but I do have the water department is now accepting credit card payments.
Okay.
Yeah, so that should go a long way to help with that problem, which is going to be finally solved.
Apologies, Rob. Sorry I missed the first part.
You're here for the best part, the end.
Well, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for all your help that your firm gave the district over the years. We've had our challenges, but you've always been equal to them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments, Silvio? Seth?
No.
No? Where'd you go? So, thank you very much, Mr. Lynch. It's been a pleasure working with you, and good luck in the future.
Yeah, best of luck to you in the future, and Sylvia, best wishes for you. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you.
night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Can we go back to the tax classification hearing? I'll accept a motion to have a tax classification hearing for the Katuitt Fire District.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. And Ray, do you have any dates from the assessor?
No, we have no dates so far.
Okay.
Expect it shortly, but I mean, we're supposed to have it today, but again, he ran into a delay of some kind.
So how far out do we want to schedule a,
To be safe, I would say 2 weeks.
2 weeks? So that would be the 9th of November. I was thinking, is the 16th too late? 16th of November, 3 weeks?
I'm sorry, Fran?
Would 3 weeks be too late, the 16th of November?
No, I don't think, I really don't know. I've gotten no guidance from Ed.
Okay. I was thinking of the 16th for our regular meeting because the 23rd is the day before Thanksgiving.
Let's set it, and if he has any objections, I'm sure he'll let us know, but I can't see where he would.
Okay, thank you. So I'll accept a motion to suspend the tax classification hearing until the 16th of November, 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second? Seth, is there a second?
Oh, yep, second.
All those in favor? Aye, Parks.
Aye, Seth Burdick. Is Silvio on here? I can't hear Silvio for some reason.
I think we lost Silvio. Did we?
It was on before.
Yeah, because I moved for that and then seconded my own motion. Was that not?
So, well, two sufficient. Paul, is Silvio gone?
I don't see him.
Yes, he's not on the call anymore, not in the waiting room either.
Ray, do you want to do the treasurer's report?
You know, first thing I was gonna lead off with was, well, I can go through the report and then lead on to some other things. I passed out via email a brief report on September, which in general is favorable. Tax receipts are 28%. Again, at the end of the first quarter, September, our goal is 25%. So tax collections are running slightly ahead of budget, and they are ahead of last year as well. The figure that I'm using as budget is our anticipated tax levy, but not the actual one. We won't know that actual one, obviously, until we have the tax classification meeting. That's simply my estimate. The water department, the revenue is at 21% of budget, which is below but not unexpected. The only revenue that we have at this juncture is the December to June usage, which is of course the low usage. Looking forward, the water being pumped is about 21% ahead of last year. So we anticipate with both the meter fees and the pumpage for the first half of this year, that water department will be above budget. We anticipate that. The fire department is on budget, about the same as last year, and we'll anticipate that they will travel about in that same line as last year. In the other category, we got some interest, but more importantly, we got our first solar credits, $151. So there's more to come on that as well. Turning to expenditures, Prudential is at 34% of budget, but that is explained by the fact that we had $135,000 of insurance, annual insurance payments that we lay out in July, which offsets the timing for the year. The fire department is running at 22%. They've spent their $20,000 of encumbrances. The water department is only at 17%. They had a larger encumbrance amount of 26,000. And if you were to add that to what they've spent, they're running at about the 22% level. Freedom Hall is very low. We've had no salaries. We've had nobody in there to do work because of the virus, and no services, which is impacting all the departments. It's just difficult to get the same level of services that we have received in a normal year. Street lights are low, no maintenance. Library, we did pay that bill. Debt service will actually start, we'll have an interest payment that we made as part of the refinancing in October. And then the big outlay for the bands will occur in December. The proceeds that we got from the $1.5 million refinancing has the amount for the liquidation of the $1 million long-term bond has been put in escrow, and that will be paid out in March, along with the budgeted annual payment. The benefits, again, are high due to our annual one-time retirement payment, which we again make in July, which skews the benefit payment. But health insurance is higher. I haven't had time to look into that, but I've made a note of that, and I want to follow up on that. That's running a little higher than I would have anticipated. Transfers were almost done, but I withheld the water transfer when we looked at what the realization was on meter receipts. It was below budget, and as specified in the bylaws, we adjust the following year for any shortfall in collections on meter receipts, meter fee receipts. Water department questioned the fact whether there's a makeup provision in that. I didn't see it in the bylaws, but we'll take another look at that to see if they over-realize this year. Will that somehow make up for it? I don't think that's the way the bylaw is worded. That's all I had on September. Were there any questions about the first quarter results?
I have a question about the health insurance. I thought the health insurance was going to be staying stable for this year, and then they're expecting next year is when we're going to have, I believe
You're
you said
absolutely
8%
correct. It
raise.
was supposed to be level premium. That's one of the reasons why I want to take a look at that. It looks like we're a bit ahead of where we should expect to be at this time of the year. The next thing I wanted to do, and I'll defer to Fran on the first part of this, I want to talk about some equipment for remote working. And I'll just begin by telling you about a webinar that I attended on municipal remote working security. And there were a number of points that we'll be looking at some of the things I think we're well ahead of, and that is using a municipal database, which we do use. Excuse me. But the other point they made is that if you are working remotely, you should be working on district or municipal owned laptops and not using personal computers or equipment. I'm fortunate in that I have a laptop that was provided between the two districts. However, the assistant treasurer does not have that. And I'm recommending, and I think Fran wants to speak to this as well, that we budget some money to provide equipment for the assistant treasurer. Now, Fran, did you want to
Yeah.
speak to that?
So last spring, after, a couple of months of COVID and the, what was going on, I suggested to Lisa at that time, maybe that we, get her some equipment so she could have two large screens. And she didn't feel at that time that she needed it, but it's clear now that she needs it. And I think the most concerning thing is that when she did all of the FEMA and MEMA reports and applications, which just reading the reports and applications could make you cross-eyed. Part of that was that she had to give, when she sent those in to the federal government and the state government, she had to give them permission to access her computer, which is her personal computer. And that is obviously not acceptable. She's, using her personal computer, and it's getting a lot more work out than, a personal computer should, along with her printer. And as the Prudential Committee all knows, on a weekly basis, we're pretty much printing and faxing information into, emailing information of signed warrants into Lisa. And that ends up to be a pretty big stack of papers over this period of time. So I think that, we should set up, let me backtrack a little bit. I don't think that we're going into the winter, which, just people seem to be astounded at there being more cases of COVID, but that was to be expected. Where the flu season's upon us, it's about to start. They're already seeing cases in Michigan, which is pretty normal. And so I don't think anybody is going to see any big change in what we're doing or limitations on going out or going back to the office, maybe until next spring at the earliest. And, possibly depending upon, all kinds of factors. So I think we need to make the work environment, much better for our assistant treasurer. I sent out the information that Lisa sent to me about the CARES Act and getting reimbursement, and also the pictures of the split screen on her laptop. And, when you're used to having two 24-inch split screens to do your work, and then everything has to be, compressed down to a laptop, that's just makes the job all much harder and more difficult and more time consuming. So the chief, Paul? Chief
Yes.
Chief Rudin and I talked about this, and he can get a laptop from, I forgot the name of the company.
Our ambulance billing company, Pro EMS.
Pro
we
EMS.
provide Microsoft services through them.
Yeah, so we can get her a laptop. We can get screens, and the chief has been getting screens and printers through Amazon. So I think we need to provide better equipment for not just Lisa, but I also think that our treasurer could also use another screen when he's working, doing his work at home. So he can also have two screens. So Ray, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think it's really up to the individual what they want. I think I work on a laptop, and what I find is that the keyboard is really restricting. I think for the type of work that Lisa and I do, it would probably be a better setup to have a laptop with a docking station and a monitor and a remote keyboard. That gives you a PC type keyboard, which is easier to work with. The docking station makes the PC or the laptop basically just your second screen, and with a monitor of a good size, it's much easier to work with visually. I think it's up to the individual. If Lisa has another setup that's more comfortable, I think that you could probably do a laptop docking station monitor for probably under $1,000. I think Paul's setup was a bit more than that. It depends on the laptop you get. The one that I have is adequate for the work that we do. It's just that the keyboard and screen are not adequate. I could work with probably just a second screen. I can always get my own or set up my own remote keyboard. I have that for my personal setup, but it's hard to move back and forth between the two. So my recommendation is that we budget something like $1,200, $1,000 for Lisa's equipment, and something like $200 for my screen, second screen, if the committee so approves.
And Lisa, what would you prefer?
I would like 2 decent sized screens, plus my laser scanner has been totally degraded and I can't use it for my own artwork. So you need to add the cost of a scanner printer for commercial use. Right now, mine is a lift up 1 page at a time. That's very time consuming and it costs the district more wages for me. So a decent scanner that can feed documents would be appropriate. And I've told Ray this, we have a very important issue where the 2 monitors, regardless of whether they're a laptop and an external display or 2 external displays plus something else, they all have to be the same resolution for certain requirements in our accounting package. So there are some technical things that may affect that cost a little bit.
Yeah, I would certainly support the printer. And Lisa does more printing than I do, but even my little homebody printer is gonna, I try to reprint on pages to cut down on the use of paper, and it usually jams up with that. So but the more important printer would be with Lisa, and maybe rather than a dollar amount, why don't we let Lisa do some research and come back to us, or you could approve a certain level and let her work within that to find the appropriate printer. But it's something that we really should provide for her.
Yeah, I have one other question. Lisa tells me that when the last time she went in and used or tried to use the computer her computer at the station, Windows 10 was telling her that it's at the end of its life. That computer setup. So I'm wondering if rather than using a laptop, would she want to get just a regular, because I'm assuming the 2 screens and maybe are going to be moving back to the station if we ever go back to the station at some point. So would it be better to get a computer, a laptop computer to drive all of her system, or would it be better to get a regular desktop?
Can I pipe in here?
Yeah.
We are going to be going through a period of transition where we may be working remotely and then we go into the office and then we go back to remote. There are times that I go into the office because I need to coordinate, very seldom, but the machines don't work there. We need a system where that I can use in my remote office and then go in and use in the office, even if that I carry this laptop or computer into the office. Maybe it doesn't connect at that point to 2 monitors, but at least it can function in the office. Eventually, we'll transition and be in the office and we can figure out what needs to happen there. But for now, most of the work would be remote, and it would be good for us to be able to adapt whatever we're using to also transport and transition back into the office when that happens. I'm not going to lug around a PC computer back anywhere.
No. So, Silvio, Seth, do you have any other thoughts?
That sounds pretty straightforward to me. I'd just like be interested in the top line number and what do you think it's going to cost when you see what you need, what it is you need exactly. Do we have an IT person in the district who is a specialist in these sort of things? Other than, is it the chief?
No.
Or Lisa, you probably know what you need.
We are supposed to have a secure networks contract for maintenance and providing us with these. Right now it is lapsed and we
No,
need to
it
get
hasn't.
that back.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't, Lisa. It is
Okay.
still active.
So it would be very good to consult them because maybe they can help us. They know more about current technical things.
Because if you're tying in all these different systems and security, all that jazz, it just seems like if you're going to spend the money, get an not that you're not an expert, but I'm not. You know what they think is the best thing.
I'm not too sure Secure Networks would be that willing to volunteer opinions. I've worked with them for a number of years when I was at Capabilities, and they'll make broad recommendations. I don't think we can try, but my experience is that they don't make specific equipment recommendations. If we wanted to set a budget amount, we could set a budget amount of $1,500 to include a printer, laptop, and station, however Lisa wanted to configure that.
The printer will cost probably up to $399 if you get a scanner that is a commercial scanner that can feed. So that means you're limiting it to $1,100 for the laptop, the 2 monitors, and whatever else you think you need to connect.
I think I would go to 2,500.
For both of us?
Yeah, for everything.
Okay.
My other question is to move Vadar over to a new computer. Is that going to cost us anything?
Nothing, it's all in the cloud. It's just about connecting. As
Oh,
long
okay.
as monitors are going to sync, that's important.
Okay, all right. And that's the same for Microsoft programs of 350.
No, I think it's Microsoft 360 is the one that the Secure Networks was installing. And when I'm trying to, they are a bit slow to respond. I'm trying to get them to cover the 4 computers, the 2 remote computers and the 2 in the station, and have them put on Windows 360 on all of those, so that we're current with all the software.
Okay. All right. So
So
can,
I'll take it that that's our budget, and we'll move forward on that.
Seth, is that budget okay with you?
25, and yeah, that sounds pretty good. I'm just curious, what's the funding source for that? Just from an accounting standpoint, is that a free cash?
Well, it may have to end up free cash. Right now, we're overusing the reserve account, and I'll explain that in a minute. And what we may have to rely on is when we get free cash certified and are able to use it, which would realistically be at the next annual district meeting, we ask for authority to apply the then free cash to this and the next subject that I'm going to talk about, which is the expenses related to the refinancing. I
So,
think we can,
So it's just
Go ahead.
operating.
can I just interrupt for a minute? I'll take a motion to authorize up to $2,500 for securing a computer equipment for the treasurer and assistant treasurer. Is there a second?
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Parks, aye. Silvio, aye.
Seth Burdick, aye.
Thank you. Okay, Ray.
the next point I wanted to make was, actually, you all saw Lisa's email about the FEMA application. And just like to make note of that again, that we've applied for $127,000, which potentially could result in $94,000 of grant money from FEMA, primarily through the efforts of Lisa. In addition, we are now, and again, when I say we, it's primarily Lisa, in the process of applying for CARES funding through the town, which would substantially cover the balance, the 25%, if all is deemed eligible, which could be an additional 30-odd thousand. So we, through Lisa's efforts, were in line, although nothing's over until it's over. We're in line for about $120,000 worth of grant money. And with that said, due to the excess hours that Lisa has put in, I have, after talking with Fran, I've granted Lisa overtime pay for any time over 30 hours. And that is for the 3-month period of August through October. She has spent an inordinate amount of time on these, and it, as I just said, it has been very well worthwhile for the district. It has been time well spent. And I'm asking for budget authority for approximately $1,500, which again would be part of the reserve account that we usually cover our overages, and we will have overages in the salary line. But this is one of the reasons that we would, and that is paying Lisa for that time. Lisa and to myself to a certain extent feel like we've lost the fall between the refinancing and the grant applications. So I think it is appropriate that we pay her that amount of overtime for anything over 30 hours. Your thoughts on that?
Silvio?
I'm sorry. It just, my computer is acting up a bit. That's why I lost the meeting before. So you were breaking up. So you were saying about paying additional time for Lisa's time for what? Sorry, if you don't mind repeating that.
Not at all, Silvio. I was going to pay her overtime, that's time and a half, for any hour over 30, which is what we agreed with her when she started the job. 30-hour, not when she started, but what we moved her to, a 30-hour week. Anytime over that, we would pay her time and a half. It involves a lot of weekend working to meet these deadlines. What happened was we had a confluence of deadlines between refinancing and primarily the FEMA one that all hit on October 16th. And so it required an awful lot of overtime and accelerated time too, because it was something that we really hadn't planned on. And now we have CARES on top of that, which is due on the 31st of October. So that was my rationale for doing it. As I said, the cost will be approximately $1,500.
Yeah, well, I personally don't have a problem with that. And I mean, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have an issue, but I would suggest doing more research on that, because I've been in that similar situation with employees that are 30 hours instead of 40 hours. And in those situations, what we've done is we paid them straight time for anything over between 30 and 40, and then anything over 40, we paid them overtime. So I don't know if there's a rule related to that or not, but if there's no rule, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I don't think it's a money issue. It's just a matter of being able to follow the rules that are out there.
I'm not aware of any, but I will research that and confirm that.
Seth?
That sounds straight. I agree with what Silvio said, just in terms of, does it have to be classified as a bonus? Is it a straight time thing? How does it figure in? That's what Silvio was saying, was it? Or is it
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, I don't really.
Yeah, I think she's more than earned it.
Oh,
I just want to make
absolutely.
sure we do it the right way. So there are no issues, on both her end and our end. But yeah, I have, as a matter of principle, I have no issue with it at all.
Okay, very good.
Okay. So can we take care of that at our next meeting, Ray?
Yes,
You want to wait till our next meeting, if that's okay?
all right. The next point I was going to make was on refinancing. I wanted to make the committee aware that when we had our special district meeting, I didn't frame the motion carefully enough to include authorization for spending the incremental expenses involved in refinancing, total of about $49,000. This will exceed my budget for financial advice and support by about $44,000. I believe that I can pay these legally based on the fact that we do have the reserve account, but I would suggest that at the next annual district meeting, we apply for an application of free cash to be applied to this refinancing. If you'll recall, the net savings was about $166,000, and that was after expenses. Excuse me, $144,000 after expenses. So this means that for the out years of 22 on, the savings go to about $180,000 if we pay these $49,000 this year, which we're legally obligated to do. Apologies for not getting that motion right. I thought we had authority to do it. It's just that we didn't identify the source for spending that money.
Okay.
Questions, comments?
No.
My last point is on the online payment. The process has begun, excuse me. Jan processed the first payment today. A blast email using the Civic Association's email base will go out tomorrow, encouraging anyone who hasn't paid to use the online payment to pay their water bill. And Lisa and I will get training tomorrow on the system. But also what I found in discussing the struggles to get this thing up and running was that the bank had limited the amount of checks that the water department could deposit. And this resulted in checks being held by the water department until they could process the number. I think it's like 25 checks or something like that. And they would get 50 or 60 checks a day. I was unaware of this problem. When I checked with the bank, I found out that it was due to a misunderstanding. The bank will actually stand ready to process all the checks. But what a better solution was a scanner that the bank will offer to us for free. It will be installed at the water department, and the water department will be able to scan any number of checks into a separate account that we're setting up for that for security purposes. And so that even though it will take us a while to get everybody to the online processing, online payment system, we have a bridge which will make the water department a little more efficient in processing their payments. We're going to set up the training for Jan and the bank over the next week or so. And so they should be able to be well positioned to do that when the new billing goes out in January. And that's all I had.
Any questions, Silvio, Seth?
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty neat system, Ray. I love it. I would again just point a suggestion. I would just ask or let the water department know. I'm pretty sure you've contacted them about that, but just to work out on the practicality of installing that system and how it would work with the rest of, the office protocols that they already have. To me, it sounds like a win-win, and it sounds like something that's going to make their job easier. But it's just, as a matter of courtesy, just going over that with them, and so that the transition is smooth. But that's a pretty neat system, and they give it to you for free.
Yeah.
Wow.
And actually, we started looking at it. Unibank, the one who does our online payments, offered it first. And so when I checked with the co-op, I don't know whether I embarrassed them into it or not, but they quickly offered a free one as well. And Jen has been obviously on all those emails with me, so she's well aware of what's going forward.
Well, good job again. Thank you.
Okay. So the next topic is the Katuitt School. Not this past month, but September, I went to the Civic Association board meeting to discuss with them the school and setting up a committee. And it was a beneficial discussion. And basically the bottom line was that they thought the Prudential committee was the best placed committee to work on setting up a committee to look at the Katuitt school property and its future uses if the district takes it over. So they thought we should come up with, like four things that we thought were the most important to look at for that property. One would be to keep the school and, use it as a community center and, possibly rent out space, put the treasurer and assistant treasurer there. The next possibility is to just demolish it and leave it just fields because it is next to the our water supply. Another possibility is once the building is demolished is to build a new building, a new community center building. The final one would be moving the fire station up there. And I guess that would probably also be out of necessity be new construction also because of just of the requirements. So I've had a few people who've Paul has found some people who would like to be on the committee, and I've had some people who have asked to be on the committee. The first people who want to be on the committee are all three of the water commissioners, from my understanding. I'm hoping, I don't know if the fire commissioners have designated anyone to be on the committee. Rick Pisano?
Good evening. Can you
Hi,
hear me okay?
yes.
We began the discussion at our last meeting and did not, all three commissioners expressed interest, but we did not have a resolution. We were going to wait to see what Prudential Committee was going to do and the structure of a committee. We didn't want to end up overloading it. But certainly all three commissioners expressed a lot of interest in the process. So we stand ready to give you 1, 2, or 3 names for inclusion. I'm conscious that a board or a committee like this could easily go beyond a workable size. So we'll defer to you.
Yeah, I was thinking probably, like 12 people would be what I would think would be a reasonable maximum number of people. I've had Ron Mycock has volunteered to be on the committee, and DJ McKinnon, who does a lot of building restoration work and is very familiar, has volunteered to be on the committee. And I see somebody who's attending our meeting this evening who I've been trying to get a hold of to see if she would be interested in being on the committee. But if she could send me her phone number, we can discuss it. That's Jackie Barton, who I thought would be an excellent person with her knowledge of the importance of the water table and just Barnstable and Katuitt in particular. So that's as far as I've gotten on working on this. If anybody's got any other names they'd like to throw out, I'd be more than willing to accept them. Yes, Scott.
Yes, Fran, thank you. First of all, I would second Jackie serving on this committee if she's willing to do that. She'd be a great resource. But I just want to make a couple of quick comments, and thank you guys for putting on this agenda tonight. First of all, as you all know, we've commented a number of times in writing and testifying at Zoom meetings that our biggest concern is obviously the water supply. This site is right in the middle of one of our well fields. So whatever happens here, in our view, has to be a net improvement, or we're going to fight it as hard as we can fight it. We're very strong on that. Sorry, that's probably our primary point. The second one is, after looking at the building, talking to a number of people, I personally am kind of wearing my resident hat here and my water commissioner hat equally here, that it just doesn't make sense for me to tear it down. The building's in relatively good shape. There were a lot of potential uses. So I really think we need to look hard, and I endorse this idea of a committee to look at this. Thirdly, I want to thank Paul for sponsoring the walkthrough on the building with an architect. I'm sorry I couldn't make it, Paul, but we did have, I know a few people attended, including you, Fran, an architect. And I actually had contacted Terry Moran from the Katuitt Kettleers as one potential interested party. And I've had a number of conversations with Terry, as well as Bruce Murphy, who's the general manager of the Kettleers and a friend and a longtime professional colleague of mine. And I do believe they are a legitimate consideration, and in my mind, a really good candidate to help preserve this building and give it a good use. And then lastly, if in fact this committee, that you're talking about, is able to preserve the building, which we endorse, and come up with a good use, we will participate, we meaning the water commissioners, in assisting with a sustainable plan for the property, which include at least 2 items. One would be an improved wastewater system. There are some innovative and alternative technologies, which would be a net improvement to the water quality at the site. And secondly, we would participate in working with the town in designing a fertigation well system for the playing fields, which I think is a great idea to preserve those and expand those. I'll mention that I also talked with Lindsay Council about this project, and Lindsay, I think, attended along with Paul and Fran and others at the site visit. And Lindsay is very connected with the town and recreational fields and is willing to assist in promoting that part of the project as well. So that's our input. We will. Oh, I should mention Tom Hoppenstadt, one of the 3 water commissioners, has been designated to work with whatever committee, Fran, that you set up, and will report back to us regularly, because we'd like to see this through and preserve the building and turn it into a good civic use that is a net benefit. Net benefit meaning a water quality benefit as well as a community and village civic benefit. So that's our input. We will stay involved, and we hope that this come out to a good solution.
Thank you. I left off the chief, Paul. I would hope that you'd also be on this committee for us. Paul, you're muted. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, whatever I can do to help.
So, so if anybody has any suggestions for other members of the public, Sylvia.
I was actually had a suggestion more on the makeup of the committee. I mean, I think we should follow what we have on policy advisory and bylaw committee, which we have a member of each of the elected groups. But then I would add at least 5 more, or let me see, 3. No, so it would be 6 more. So I would say 3 members of the committee, 1 of each of the committees, the chief, the water superintendent. That way you have members of staff, and then 4 members from the public at large, and that would give you 9. So that would give you an odd number and would give almost as much representation from the public as you would from inside the district. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you. That's good idea. Oh. Sylvia, are you still going to be able to take a look at that building on Friday? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So use your expertise to the end.
Is there a visit on Friday?
I'm sorry?
Is there a building visit on Friday?
Yes, hopefully there's one at 9 o'clock to specifically to let Silvio and Seth take a look at the building with the chief, right?
Did I join those?
Sure.
Thank you.
So anything else on the committee?
So as far as the creation of the committee and the nature of the committee, at what point will we do that? I mean, so obviously tonight we're not going to say, well, there shall be 9 people and they shall be the following people. Will we table it for now and talk about it next month, or
I think so. I've also asked Jim Donheiser if he wants to be on the committee because he's the chairman of the Civic Association.
Right.
So I think that's,
So I guess what I mean to say is, will we hash it out at a Prudential committee meeting, or will it be a separate committee? Do you know what I mean? Will we have a work group while you're doing?
A work group. We can do that,
I was just curious. I wasn't sure if it had to come directly from the Prudential committee, or.
No, we can have a workshop on it to, take more of a look at, what people want to look at and, getting a couple of more people on the committee.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So is there any public comment? So, not hearing any. Is there any public comment? Okay, not hearing any. Somebody trying to talk? Am I hearing things? So, not hearing anyone for public comment. I'll close public comment and I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
There's a
Second.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.
Jackie, can you give me a call? Because I don't have your number.